Welcome to the All Access Podcast from the experts at Tebis. Each episode, we'll talk about technology topics, trends, or solutions that manufacturers need to know in today's rapidly evolving times. Sit back, enjoy the discussion, and let us know what you think.
Hello, my friends. Welcome to the All Access Podcast. I am your host, Michael Thiessen. You know, these episodes that we're airing, we always try to bring you knowledgeable information that you can use in your own four walls that will help you in what you're doing on a daily business. So this episode, of course, is no different. We have today some guests on that are very unique. And I'm going to explain a little bit why I'm saying unique. It's nothing bad. It's very, very good. But over the last year, I think I should say 4 years now that we've been doing this, we've been talking about the labor force. And we've been listening to you that you are constantly looking for new talent and new individuals to work in your factories. And we've been talking for a long time about diversification and utilizing individuals that are out there that initially probably you were not even thinking of. So when we go into the majority of manufacturing locations, if that is in a mold or in a die facility or even aerospace, the majority of people that we see doing the laboring, machine operators and so forth, are mostly males. Let's face it, in engineering, you probably see more males than you probably see females. And an interesting statistic is actually that 15% of the workforce that we currently are in are only women. Only 15% out of the manufacturing environment, the rest of them are males. So what we want to highlight today a little bit is why some of the women that we know in engineering, and we have two of them on, why it is important to them to be in that field and why they make that decision. So we've invited two individuals that are close to me. One of them works directly with me here at Tebis, and she was working at multiple other locations beforehand. And the other one is actually part of my family that works in an engineering field with one of the OEM suppliers. So we have on this particular episode, we have Sarra Hmili on. She is the application engineer at Tebis America. She, of course, helps our clients that we deal with issues. She's very capable on the software. She knows the ins and outs. She makes training and learning the product very, very easy. And she really helps customers really fine-tune the operation so that they can get the most out of it. She has been immersed in CAD/CAM for quite some time. And she was previously at another company also doing an application specialist in a laser type of operation. And she has a bachelor's degree from ESSEC Business School. So she knows her stuff. The other one that we have on, the other lady, I should say, we have on is Samantha Thiessen. She is the PSD engineer at Toyota, and she supports the pre-production launches by looking at problems and risks that, of course, the suppliers go in and make sure that the products that they manufacture are accurate. Before that, she was also dealing in engineering internships at other suppliers that deal in the plastics environment. And she graduated from Ferris State University with a bachelor's degree and focusing on plastics and rubber materials. So it begs to say that these two individuals have a very good knowledge of engineering and dealing in that entire engineering field. So I don't want to go on any further because I want to get their input on why they chose this direction of manufacturing and not going into other areas that probably would be, I could say, friendlier. But without further ado, Sarra, Samantha, thank you very much for being on the All Access podcast.
Oh, absolutely. Of course. We're happy to be here. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, hello. Thank you very much for having us today.
Sarra, let me start with you. Why the engineering field? Why the manufacturing field for you?
Like that is such a great question because, like I find myself immersed into it and kind of happened by accident and not by accident. But, like after being in this field for quite some time, I really understand a little bit more about myself. And really, it comes down to two things is to be able to be creative. And the second part is the problem solving and getting that blend together. I mean, it's what I've always been passionate about. That's how my brain works, and I just feel like that perfect storm that like it feels like me, and I just love that.
So, as a young child, were you always intrigued by manufacturing, or putting Legos together, or building towers, or whatever? Or what happened? When did it happen that you went down this lane?
Like when I was a kid, I remember my mom, she got me like this whole bag full of Legos, and I just loved that. It was just a bunch of things, and I find myself like building different things and shapes, and just kind of try to see what can fit, and if it doesn't fit, can I like make this work with another one? And that was something. Maybe that was my first introduction,
Mhm.
which is playing with Lego. But as I grew older, I found myself, I'm the person at my family who repairs if their TV is not working. I'm fixing it. If the radio is not working properly, I found myself like playing with it, and
Mhm.
I become like kind of the fixer upper of the family. And I just love that. It kind of gives me a satisfaction every time something's not working and it's
Mhm.
working. That feeling is amazing.
Samantha, how about you? What made you kind of follow that pathway into the manufacturing field?
So I would probably agree with Sarah for most of what she said. I think a lot of it I discovered when my little brother was born. I was helping him build all of his toys and play with his railroad tracks, trying to figure out the best way to make an efficient railroad system to transport all of his rail cars when he was younger. But then from there, as I continued to grow up, I always excelled in the math and sciences departments. And so I actually knew from the beginning that the calculuses, the chemistries, the physics, those were more my forte. That is how my brain operated. And so then from there, I was able to take an engineering class where I got into Inventor and AutoCAD to understand truly how to design things. And then that helped set myself up for college, where I ultimately chose to get my degree in engineering. So I think at the crux of it, not only having a father who was an engineer and who was always fixing things around in the house, but also being able to play with my little brother's toys, my older brother's toys, to try and figure out the best way to build things and continue to improve them in order to make everybody happier. And ultimately, that's what brings me to my role today, too. So,
Mhm.
because it's all about continuous improvement.
So, Sarah, explain a little bit. What do you do in Tebis? I mean, of course, I know a little bit of what you're involved in all of this, but explain a little bit of what is your daily routine, or not routine, but what does it entail that you're doing and help and doing in the manufacturing area?
So I am an application engineer at Tebis. My role does entails a few things. Mainly, I am more focused onto training. So, for example, when we do have new customers, or let's say one of our customers get new employees, and they would like to be trained on our software, they would come to us, and my job would be to teach them how to use Tebis, how to program, design, machine, and that's just a big part of my role is the training aspects.
Mhm.
As well, I do like troubleshooting. I work a lot with help desk. So for example, if one of our customer have an issue, or they post a program and they run into a problem with that, I'm always able to help them, connect with them, troubleshoot the errors, and get them just on track and set them up for success. And those mainly what I do. Of course, there's so many other side projects like making a new curriculum for the training, trying to improve on a certain aspect of a class or of a handout. We do like some YouTube's video tutorials online that we can post them, as we do have our YouTube channel. So we try to kind of improve on that. And whenever I have some extra time, I would try to build on that. And anything else that comes up, we're doing some demos too for customers.
Well, I know you're very detail oriented, of course, by working with you, and you're trying to always better yourself and in everything that you do. So I think that goes along a little bit on what you have to do in the manufacturing world. I know you, Samantha, you're a little bit of an overachiever as well, and also in trying to outdo yourself. In your daily operations at Toyota, what does that entail? And do you have to deal with a lot of individuals that you're dealing with?
Yes. So my role at Toyota, we sort of didn't get into the acronyms in the introduction, but my role is a PSD engineer for Toyota. PSD stands for Purchasing Supplier Development Engineer. And what that basically means is we help mitigate risk for our suppliers by practicing and using one of our key core values is go and see activity, to go to our suppliers, understand what their challenges are, what risks may be, whether that's in the supply chain, logistics, shipping, pallet systems, manufacturability, throughput, so on and so forth. So we analyze all of those key performance indicators to then apply it and assess their risk for our launches. So my commodity I deal with specifically is seats. So I just work with a bunch of our seat suppliers to understand how they're going to impact our vehicle launches. And with that means going to all of our different locations of our suppliers and flying everywhere to put my eyes on all of our products that go into a seat. Because as I'm sure all of you can guess, seats have multiple components in them. So my daily job role differs from day to day and week to week, depending on where I'm at. However, it always follows a similar operation procedure of making sure that our suppliers are prepared, they understand what expectations are set for them throughout the launch, and then as well, they have all the resources at their disposal to be able to achieve a great launch status. Because ultimately at Toyota, we believe everybody is a team and everybody is working together to get these products out to our customers. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty much what my day-to-day looks like.
So Samantha, let me ask you this, and then I'll come back to you, Sarah. Of course, you're in I could say a male-dominated environment, constant, if that's at a supplier or maybe at Toyota. Does that worry you or does that scare you at all? Or how do you approach that?
So I don't think it worries myself to be a female in engineering. I do think it takes a specific type of female to be willing to pursue the quote unquote daunting task, because unfortunately we do live in a society still where there is sort of a stigmatism across the engineering field, as you mentioned in the introduction, that it is a male dominated industry. However, I think at the end of the day, times are still being turned and there are enough support bases out there for female engineers to be able to excel in the field of engineering, such as like SWE, Society of Women Engineering, specific engineering groups. So I majored in plastics engineering, as you mentioned in the beginning. There's SPE, Society of Plastics Engineers. So there's many resources for us to excel. Do I worry about anything when I work with my male coworkers? No, I honestly, it's become second nature to me. It's because I was blessed with two brothers in my family. And so I've always sort of been surrounded by males growing up, but it never came as a worry to myself. And honestly, I enjoy the task of proving the individuals who have the old stigmatism in their head still. I enjoy the task of proving them wrong, that we can achieve similar statuses that our male counterpart would be able to do as well. So,
how about you, Sarah? I mean, obviously, at Tebis and also at your former location that you were at, Was it mostly male dominated that you worked with guys together? And how were you accepted, I should say, in those areas?
Yes, it's definitely a male dominated industry for sure. I agree with everything that Samantha just said. Like sometimes or one of the biggest challenge that I think I face is just simply being underestimated. People just look at you, you're a woman, they just automatically assume that you don't know what you're talking about, especially if you're very technical
Mhm.
and you're talking about highly like innovative stuff like tools and machining. They just from the get-go just look at you and like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, but just to prove them wrong, and not only to show them that you know what you're doing, but you're probably one of the best. It's just gonna something from my side. It pushes me to grow, it pushes me to master my skills. I love that. I love proving myself and saying like, hey, yes, I am. I'm not a female. I'm not an engineer who is a female. It's just I'm just an engineer. My
Mhm.
gender has nothing to do with that, and prove them wrong and say I belong here, just like anybody else.
Yeah,
So
oh,
go ahead.
if I may, I'd like to add to that because one thing we're not touching on is my past experience. And I will agree with Sarah, especially when doing hard labor jobs. My past roles, I was process engineer at Yangfeng Automotive Interiors, pretty much being in charge of helping launch programs across other OEMs and operating large injection molding machines. And so to be able, as Sarah just mentioned, to show in those labor intensive jobs that we can also achieve operating this big machinery of equipment and still put out the same part at the end of the day is just a very satisfying thing and achieving success in our day. So
Yeah.
there's no worry. We'll get there. We will get there. And it's pretty soon it'll
Exactly.
be infested. So with women. But either way, I just wanted to add that on.
That's awesome. I have to assume for both of you, and Sarah, let me ask you there first. Of course, going into an environment in a manufacturing such as Tebis or in your previous role, there had to be some kind of a mentor that kind of put you under their arms in order to kind of guide you along. Was there anybody in your life that kind of gave you those wings and helped you on to move along in that field?
Like it wasn't anybody like on my family side. There wasn't any person that was in the field. I was kind of like what is the best word to say it? I just flew
The
too
gray
much.
sheep?
Huh?
The gray sheep?
Yeah. Yes, but I think I first got into it with my previous job. I wasn't sure how I was gonna fit in, but I think I'm very grateful that they gave me the opportunity to be part of the industry, even though I might not be the most qualified or maybe the best candidate at that time.
Mhm.
But I remember the person who interviewed me saw something. He's like, you know what? We like you. I know you're not the most prepared and somebody more qualified than you, but we'd love to hire you. And that was just the most amazing thing that I felt that somebody just gonna believed in me and they gave me the chance
Mhm.
and I proved myself. And I think that's just what um, opened me to this word. And
Mhm.
if anybody's listening to this podcast and, like if you're in a hiring or you're part of, like the interviewer committee, I would say like, trust in the people, trust in the energy. It's not ABC, it's not just math, it's not black and white when it comes to this industry, especially when it's a position that requires a lot of problem solving, being able to adapt on the spot. It's not something that you can learn in a school or some degree you can get. It depends on the person. And sometimes you can open a small door to somebody and
Mhm.
believe in them, and they may take you just further and further. And, I
Mhm.
say like, give them a chance, especially women and young ladies coming out of school or maybe interested in the field. We can prove ourselves. We're very hardworking. We're dedicated. We're just smart. We can adapt. We have so many skills, and just trust in that.
Oh, I know you are. I know you are. How about you, Samantha? Any mentors in your professional life that kind of guided you along or put you under their wings?
You see, I like how you put in the word there, professional, because I do think it's a little unfair for myself. I would have answered that question. Actually, I have answered that question in interviews before, and I usually credit my father. However, for the purpose of today, I will credit my father along with probably my first boss. My first boss, he was really inspiring, always looking for new ways to solve problems. My first boss at my first internship, let me make that specific. So, not my first boss when I was a receptionist. This is my first boss where I was a process engineer for twin screw extrusion. But my first manager, he truly challenged my way of thinking as well as continue to push me to find new ways of problem solving and methods to problem solve. And so throughout that, he was very welcoming. At Ferris State, we had a class we had to take during the summer where professors had to come in and look at our product throughout the year of what we've done, or summer, not year. However, from that standpoint, he was always very welcoming to the degree of plastics engineering, always willing to look for the next avenue we could go down. And he helped me establish my goals as well as learn very basic things, even just as simple of how to run a meeting when going into a meeting room. He was a lot of the introductory factors to the manufacturing field for me and how to operate in a manufacturing setting. So I think besides my father, my first manager was probably a huge mentor and role because he was challenging. He gave me 20 projects over a summer to complete, knowing I couldn't get them all done, but he helped me understand how to prioritize them. And each one was a completely different project from the other. And I think that's what kept me going in my degree. Not that I ever wanted to change my degree, but it definitely kept me interested. It always fueled a new fire within the plastics degree and manufacturing degree as a whole.
Well, I'm glad there was somebody else there and not just me. So that's good. I have to understand this thing, and I'm going to start with Samantha here first in this one. It's not always going to be roses and candy every single day. Has there ever been a time where you have run into and you go, you know what? I don't know if I can do this. Maybe I'm in the wrong place. Maybe I'm with the wrong company. Maybe I need to be doing something else, but this is just crap.
Yeah, so I do think I've definitely hit that point at one point in time during my career. Fortunate enough to say it hasn't been with my current establishment. However, I will say there was that point, unfortunately, for myself where it was just not a great support system. And I think that's what I want to lean on for women out there in the engineering field is if you build your network and your support system, your opportunities will be great. And if you understand that the culture surrounding you is there to lift you up and not bog you down, you're going to excel. They will always encourage you and improve, challenge you in every simple way that they can. So yes, unfortunately, I have been in that standpoint. But what I did when I was in that standpoint was I reached out to my support network that I had because I was fortunate enough at Ferris State. Not that I'm trying to plug my college in for listeners out there, but at Ferris State, they were always big on going to career fairs, building a network. We always had all these companies coming in from all over to talk during our lunches to introduce their company overviews and opportunities that they had. So through those opportunities, I was able to build a substantial network in my career and in my life. So during that time, I was able to reach out to my network and ask, hey, what's your recommendation? Is this normal? Am I overreacting, or would you be treating somebody of my status the same way? And that's where I think, like I said, if you're a female engineer, if you're an engineer, period, it doesn't matter. Build your support system, your network, so that you can always bounce ideas and opinions off of them to make sure that you're not going insane, right? Everything that's occurring is sound in mind. So I think from that standpoint, yes, I've definitely run into places where I feel like it's a crappy situation. However, I've had a great support system built in to give me the confidence to say, okay, I think it's time to find something new.
So, Sarah, what about you? Did you run into a wall, and did you have also a support system, or did you lean on something else to get yourself back into, so to speak, the saddle again?
I must say, Sam, I'm a bit jealous of you because you did have a nice group and support system. So just to give you like a little bit of backstory, so I moved here in the US basically at the end of 2018. So it was late in December. So it was like just a year before COVID hit. And during that 1 year, the first year, I was working really hard. I was trying to prove myself, like I can belong here. And unfortunately, I did not have enough time to develop friendships or to grow the network. I was just work, work, work. And I did find myself at times in situations where I was not sure. It's like, is it because of me, because of woman, or is it because me as a person, just, in general? And I did not have the answer. And, at the times, I think I just kind of like, my personality is like, no, it's okay, endure it, or just discard it and, keep going. It's okay. But after a certain time and some things that was repetitive, I kind of took a step back and, at that point, a few years later, I had some friends, we're talking, and I was able at last to share some of my experience, which most of them were like more like men than females. They don't really quite understand it from my side,
Of course.
but at least I was able to get some more objective opinion from the exterior, not just everything's in my head. And sometimes you don't know, you do face challenges, you do face really tough situations. And I think on my side, I don't know how to say this right. I just kind of like endured it until I found a better situation, which when I came to Tebis, it's been almost 3 years now, and it's been great. But yeah, you do sometimes find yourself in a challenge, and I think having a support group or people that can understand your situation is really important.
Right. Well, good thing is you have a support group at Tebis, so that's good. You've got one.
100%.
Um,
And I
um,
was going to say, Sarah, you got a new friend, so don't worry, I can be your support group.
That's awesome. Thank you.
it must be incredibly tough for the two of you out there. Both of you, I know, are very headstrong and can get through almost anything that you put your mind to it. Now, the interesting thing, and I read an article just recently, interested me. It was all about the retention issues that females in engineering face. And what it said in there that the challenge on retention of women in the engineering field is that only about 30% of women that earn an engineering or a bachelor's degree in manufacturing engineering are still in the field 20 years later. So it was kind of interesting seeing this. And I want to get your opinion, Sarah. Where do you see yourself in 20 years? Do you see yourself still engaged in the manufacturing? And I know you just had a daughter just recently, and you're continuing on in the manufacturing field, which I think is great. But where do you see yourself in 20 years? And are you going to be going against that statistic?
Oh, definitely, I'll be part of that 30%. I could not see myself anywhere else. It's impossible. I need to be technical. I'll always be technical.
Right, right.
Yeah.
How about you, Samantha? In 20 years, do you still see yourself at Toyota or manufacturing, anything like that?
I think that's a great question because it's all God's plan at the end of the day. And so I think for myself, I really don't know where I will be. Regardless, I do know whatever I'm doing, I will still be doing engineering because at the base of it, feel like everybody's an engineer, whether it's a home renovation type of project or actually going out to a manufacturing line and helping people assess their problems and risks that they have throughout their line. I feel like everybody understands and has a little engineer in them to be able to continuously improve their systems wherever they are at. So I don't know where I'm going to be in 20 years. I would love to be against the statistic, but also I know Sarah had her first child. So I could also see myself enjoying a family as well. So I don't know where the world will bring me. I will say, for one thing, I enjoy where I currently work, and I definitely would love to stay here if I can make that work.
Absolutely.
So at the end of the day, if tides change in 20 years, I know at the root of it, I still will be doing some sort of engineering. If that's installing new vanities or fixing up my upstairs, there will be something still related to engineering and manufacturing
Right.
involved.
So if you would see, Samantha, a, let's say, 12-year-old young lady, or let's imagine this, that you're talking to your younger self, what advice would you give her in order to move forward in the engineering or manufacturing field? And what would you tell her?
That's a great question.
Was there anything that you would do different that potentially, if you could redo it, you would do?
I don't think there is anything that I would do different. However, I would tell myself to continue to pursue the niche engineering degrees. Like, look for the diamond in the rough type of engineering, because I do think that is the one thing that kept me so interested in my degree, is that Ferris was one of 8 universities that teaches plastics engineering within the nation. And then at an SWE event, the Society of Women Engineers event, I learned about forensics engineering, which is the reverse engineering of crime scenes in simple terms. And so I think to that standpoint, the advice I would give myself is there's not just one type. Yes, you're a math and sciences person, but that doesn't mean you have to do mechanical. That doesn't mean you have to do chemical. There are so many other opportunities out there. You could do manufacturing, industrial, you can do plastics, you could do rubbers. Rubbers is a totally different degree at Ferris State. You could do forensics, etc. There are so many different avenues that I think a lot of people, when they think engineering, and I see this in my daily role whenever I say plastics engineering, so many people think we're just individuals who take a bunch of calculus and we love our sciences. And yes, that is true. However, there's computer engineering, right? There's all these different avenues that can fit those of us who may not be the calculus mechanical engineers, but we can excel in, aerospace engineering or different types of fields. And so, like I said, the advice I give my little self, my younger self, is probably to find the niche degrees, find the things that cater to what you enjoy the most, and continue to pursue those, because oftentimes the niche degrees can fit in almost anywhere in a daily basis.
Sarah, I come to you here in just a second because what you just told me, and I want to elaborate a little bit on this. A study was done of all the women in the workforce in engineering. And because you brought up different disciplines, and I think it's quite fitting to put that in 2023, the survey was done that in environmental engineering, there's about 34% women in the workforce. In industrial engineering, we have got 24.1%. I don't know where this word 0.1% came from, but it's there. Chemical engineering, we have 20.8%. In biomedical engineering, believe it or not, about 46% in 2022. And in 2023, 52.7% were in biomedical. Mechanical engineering, only 11.4%. Aerospace engineering, about 10.5%. Electrical engineering, it looked initially, when I looked at it, minus 10%, but then I looked again, it had that squiggly line on it. It's about 10%. And then we have an agricultural and mining, geological engineering, about 8%. So it's kind of interesting to see the different engineering fields and how women are represented. And you also mentioned the associations that kind of helped you through, and many of them. Of course, there's the Society of Women Engineers, SWE, as you already mentioned. There's also the IEEE, Women in Engineering Network. So there's a whole bunch of different networks that are out there for young ladies that are active in the engineering field. So Sarah, let me come to you. If you would be talking to your younger self, would there be anything that you would do different, or would you tell yourself to do different, or is everything pretty much in line?
Oof, that's such an interesting question because I feel like I want to say yes and say like, oh, just go and because right now I've been working on taking classes and eventually I want to have like my mechatronic degree done. And I would say like, don't waste your time with marketing, just go straight to that. But also, like, on the other hand, it's like I want to say no because I truly believe that everything happens for a reason. And I think so far, if I look back at my last 10 years, it's been like it's like a crazy, complex symphony that took me from one place to the next, to the next, to the next. Eventually, I am at Tebis right now, and I'm so happy. And, do I want to change that? Would it change
Right.
where I'm at right now? And I don't know. It's gonna go into that complex theory, like a paradox, yes or no.
Obviously, both of you guys went to high school at some point in time. Sarah, probably for you, was out of country at your home country in Tunisia, and Samantha, you had your high school too. I know for you, Samantha, engineering kind of fell in your lap a little bit later on at the end of your high school. Do you think if you would have had shop or something like this in your high school environment, that you would have flocked to that early on already in high school? Or do you think, because early on, at least when I went to school, we had shop, we had woodworking, we had all of those different trades in high school already. And then over time, those things were removed and it was more onto the arts areas that was focused on. Do you think having a manufacturing shop kind of class in high school would kind of help the younger generation out a little bit more in that particular field to kind of see that field?
100%. Yes. I do think having shop classes, I think that is one thing that our school system is missing a lot is some of the basics, even contracting work or word working, like you mentioned. I don't think it's that hard anymore because there are such things as 3D printers. And let's be honest, 3D printers help people so often nowadays. I would love to see the statistic on how many people have a 3D printer in their household because you can continue to design and find new ways to fix things or make things for each and every daily use that you have, whether it be a pot holder, or you broke a part on a vehicle. I know my brother's done that a few times. And so consequently, I think if schools began to bring shop work back, and allow children who are not excelling, but interested in the engineering field, experiment, fail, and continue to fix and improve their ideas and systems, it would help our field so much more because our industry would to continue to excel. Not saying that it won't without those shops classes, but it helps instill the confidence when you're in those younger ages to be able to design a component, be able to make it, see how it performs, and then continue to improve it in your brain and in your classes and replicate it again, your next iteration, your 2.0. And so I do think if I had one of those classes, I would have been all over it in high school. Unfortunately, I didn't. We were more CAD, CAM, systems, and I never got to see the parts in real life. And I think that's why I love my job now is that I get to see the commodities roll off the line at the end of the day and say, I contributed to that. But yes, I think at the crux of it, every person needs to get their hands on products to understand what type of engineering they like best. Because as you just alluded to, there's many different fields. There's also many different tiers of engineers within every single company. You got your quality engineers, your materials engineers, you got as I am, the supplier development engineer,
Right.
so on and so forth. And so we each have a specific role to help get this product off the line. And I think the earlier you can understand what your likes and dislikes are in the engineering world, better prepared you are for what your future might be.
Do you agree with that, Sarah?
Oh, 100% to the T. Every single word you have said. I can see that if they put classes in high school, yes, it would help 3D printing 100%. You can see nowadays it's such a trend and that helps really makes you understand better and seeing yourself like the little engineer in you. And for me, I would make a suggestion. For example, what is in high school, it's 4 years in US, right?
Mm-hmm.
Third grade, make it half a year school, half a year internship, kind of like they do it in school,
Yes.
have like companies, have these little kids and, come in and be part of their shop and they can get a tax break. So it will be beneficial for the company, beneficial for the student. I think will be huge.
Right.
Yes.
I, both of you have so great insights. And what advice could you give the high schoolers or the people or the young gals that really don't know and are struggling on should I go into engineering or should I not? What advice could you give them, Sarah?
From my side, I say like don't let anything doubt you or doubt stop you. If you're curious or if you have a curious brain, if you like problem solving, if you enjoy building or creating or you have that instincts, just ask questions, challenge yourself. Remember that you don't need to know everything. That's the thing. People, they think if they don't know anything that they're not good enough or they're
Mm-hmm.
not ready for that part. I said, just try it. It's the whole industry is ready for you. And to be honest, we need more women into this in engineering manufacturing. Not just because the industry needs them, but they believe because their perspective just adds on to the innovation and it makes it stronger. It's just a stronger community overall.
Right. Samantha, how about you? What advice could you give some of the young ladies out there?
I think some advice that I would give the young ladies out there is to continue to break the stigmatism that we're not as affluent in this industry. Continue to challenge your peers and collaborate with your peers because at the end of the day, they're the ones that you're going to help build this industry up with. And then, probably at the end of all of that, continue to build your network so that at the end of the day, you are able to lean on mentors, managers, bosses, even just sometimes senior engineers, subject matter experts in every single field and type of way to help guide you through what your next goal or step might be. I remember my senior year in college it was very hard for me to make a decision of where to go. At the end of it, I had a job already lined up, and I ultimately I did end up at that facility. However, I leaned heavily on the senior professor at my college, and I basically said, "What do you see me doing, professor?" And at the end of the day, he read me to a T. He knew exactly where my brain was geared best for in this industry, and so I'd like to give that advice: is build your network because they'll continue to support you. Everybody wants to see you excel. Nobody's trying to tear you down. And so build your network, lean on it, and continue to break the stigmatism.
Awesome. I think these are some great closing thoughts from both of you. Is there anything else you want to add that you have not yet brought across? Sarah, how about you?
I mean, I think at the end of the day, it comes back to the same topic, women in engineering.
Right.
I think, like Sam was saying, build your network. Nobody's trying to tear you down. I love that. I really love that. And I think sometimes we can get into our brain or into our mind, just
Right. Right.
step out of it, be curious, be brave, and ask mentors.
Well, both of you, I want to thank both of you for being on the podcast. Both of you had incredible insight, and hopefully, you guys both are continuing on for many, many years to come in the engineering world. And I love the enthusiasm and being so headstrong and being really detail oriented in your manufacturing world. So, thank you to both of you.
Thank you very much for having me today on this podcast. It's been a pleasure to talk with you, Dad and Sarah, about females in engineering and how we can continue to improve the industry and give confidence to the younger female generation that ultimately will be our bosses one day. So thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much for having me as well. It has been like super entertaining to be part of this podcast. Just loved hearing from Sam, her experience, and to share my own, and just to give us the opportunity on this podcast to tell our truth and to say our voice is strong, and hopefully we can inspire one of the females out there or a young lady who could be listening to this. Or it's just been great. Thank you so much.
With that said, my friends out there, the engineering world is so vast, and there is, anywhere you look, a spot for you. If you are a young lady with inspiring ideas or thoughts, look at it, take a challenge, go forward, grasp it, and move forward with it. Engineering is an exciting field. And as I told my daughter, Samantha, that is, in early on, when she was uncertain of really what to do, look around. Sometimes the environment kind of helps you out. And with her side, we looked at what's around her. There's a lot of plastics out there, and she became in such a way a expert when it comes to plastics and materials. Do the same thing. Ask questions. Be curious. Always stay curious with whatever you see, and look at some of the parts that are out there, because they all were manufactured at some point in time. So look at the institutions, high schools. When you listen to this, somebody from the administration from high schools, look at your own curriculum, look at the new technology. If that's 3D printing, have a shop available for these young minds to get them going in a trade. And I hope that many more young ladies listen to it in college or in high school. And hopefully we will see you at one of the manufacturing fields in the near future. So continue on down that path. We thank all of you that have turned in to the All Access podcast. We always appreciate you, and we hope that you find that our discussions are insightful and valuable. We hope that you enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget to subscribe it if you liked it on Spotify, on Apple, or wherever you get your information from. Feel free to share the episode within your network. Leave us a review, or come up to us and say, hey, I'd love to be on your podcast to discuss a certain topic. Contact us. For more updates, follow us on Instagram, on X, and on LinkedIn. Until next time, keep shaping the future of manufacturing. And to all of young ladies, keep moving forward and experience the power of manufacturing. Thank you to all of you. Have a good rest of your day. Thank you, and bye-bye.
Thank you for joining this episode of All Access. Please leave a comment or review with your feedback or what you'd like to hear in future episodes. To learn more about manufacturing technology solutions and Tebis's capabilities, visit our website at Tebis. That's TEBIS.com.